Whether your account uses NPS or CSAT to track its customer satisfaction, there are 4 types of customers that you need to pay attention to as a call center agent when improving your survey score. And they are the happy customers, the so-so customers, the unhappy customers with a good reason, and the unhappy customers without a good reason. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how you can maximize your scores from each of them. Happy customers. These customers are happy because you're either able to meet or exceed their expectations in solving a particularly difficult problem, or they're probably just happy people in general and they have this remarkably sunny disposition in life, and it just reflects on how they fill out the survey. With this type of customers, there's not much effort needed here really. You just have to make sure that they fill out the survey. If your company allows it, make sure to remind them that there's going to be a survey after the call. The so-so customers. Interactions with these customers are simple, brief, and uneventful, and as a result, the challenge is the low remarkability. They ask a simple question, they're answered, they run into minor issues, they're helped immediately. It's good for your AHD, but it doesn't contribute much to your survey score because customers don't really remember you. And if they do remember you, they don't care as much because they're not really connected to you as you would be if the problem is a little more complicated. So what should you do about it? So the first tip is try some small talk. I know for you introverts out there, you are uncomfortable with this idea, but if you can, try to learn it, and this will help you tremendously. This will come easy for extroverts, but not so much for introverts. But this is a really powerful way to engage with your customer, for them to connect with you in that short amount of time. Number 2 would be to try to tell jokes. I know this is a tricky one because one wrong joke is going to make your conversation uncomfortable. So you probably should proceed with caution. Just know that it's something that you can do to connect with your customer. I know that there are some people who are really good at this, and most people I know just suck. So just be careful. Making small talk and telling jokes sometimes are not applicable to the conversation, or maybe you're an introvert and you're just uncomfortable doing that, then you can maybe try to look for ways to say me too. Obviously, this is not going to be applicable in all conversations, but for example, your customer is talking about her dog and you have a dog and you know that it's a topic that you can really get into. Seize the opportunity to talk more about dogs, and maybe that will help you connect with your customer. Another thing you could do is to adopt an accommodating voice. Don't sound like you're in the middle of something, even if you obviously are because you're pulling up the files. Try to sound friendly and don't sound as if you're being interrupted, because customers or humans in general, we don't only pay attention to the verbal messages, but also to the nonverbal cues. Unhappy customers with a good reason. So these customers' unhappiness could range from mild to extreme. It could be as mild as annoyance, and then dismay, and then frustration. And in the case of some customers, rage. And unfortunately, these are the customers who are likely going to fill out the survey just to make their voice heard and just to, in some case, make you suffer. So what should you do about this? And the first one is to go above and beyond for your customer. And that's because at this point, your company has already made the mistake. There's no going back. Doing the opposite is just a surefire way to get you a 0 score or a detractor. So in this case, the only chance of you getting at least a decent survey score would be to just blow your customer's mind with your helpfulness. That's it. And the most important tip is to improve your active listening skills. What active listening does is it not only makes you aware of the verbal cues the verbal message, but also of the nonverbal cues, the sighs, the impatient tone, the restraint in the voice, the hint of sarcasm. You can hear all these throughout the conversation, and you're able to connect more deeply to your customers because you're able to acknowledge her pain points. And this is very important, to let her know that you care about her problem and you're willing to help her solve it. It is more effective than just uttering generic responses, generic empathy statements like, "I'm so sorry to hear that, I understand, we apologize for the inconvenience." These are still helpful phrases to say during the conversation, but without active listening, they're just gonna sound shallow and fake. But with active listening, they're gonna sound genuine. And if you practice active listening and you become good at it, your customers will tend to see you as a fellow human being, more of a fellow human being and less of a brand representative. Just to be clear, this is not an assurance that they're not going to leave a 0 score or a detractor. No, they still will if they're really pissed or mad at the company, but their comment will be along the lines of, "Your company sucks, but the rep was very helpful." Or, "Rebecca really did everything to help me, but alas, your device just sucks. Give her a raise at least." So these types of comments from your customers will help you dispute your score. Well, that is if your account allows disputes. But if not, then there's also another possibility, and that is, if your customer knows the damage that it would do to your score as a CSR, then some customers might just not answer the survey at all. I actually do this as a customer when the company makes a mistake and the agent is just super helpful, super competent, and super willing to help me. Then instead of giving that bad score, I just delete the survey score and not fill it out. So there's still a chance of you not getting a bad score. And that's already something, and that's already better than a surefire way of getting your detractor or your DSAT. And now for the unhappy customers without a good reason. These are the customers who are extremely mad for things that are entirely their fault. They're blaming you and your company for those things, and yet they're so unreasonable and making outrageous demands. And unfortunately, these are the types of customers who will patiently wait for that survey to give you the worst score possible, to make you suffer as much as possible. Unfortunately, for these types of customers, you just gotta count your losses and move on. Because the fact that they're blaming you for something unreasonable will already tell you that you can do very little or nothing to change their outlook in life. So you just gotta accept the negative scores that you're gonna get from them. But based on my experience, they're very rare, and so there's still a chance that you can still get that performance bonus and still catch up. I'm afraid that the fix for these types of customers are neither under your control or your company's, and it goes deeper than that. Again, the good thing is they're rare, they're far in between, and that most of the time when a customer is pissed, it's usually for a very good reason. But just a friendly reminder that before you label a customer crazy or unredeemable, unreasonable 100%, try to do some serious and honest analysis of your interaction with them. Is it possible that it was your tone of voice that set the customer off? Maybe you need some improvement on your positive scripting, or maybe you need to be more proactive. Is it because you were using too many jargons that got the customer confused, or that you didn't acknowledge her when she told you how slow your app is? Or is it because you were dismissive of her concerns? Or is it because your communication skills could use some serious improvement? It's very important to take an honest assessment of these things so you can improve and focus on the things that matter. And if possible, then coordinate with your QA and team lead, because 2 heads are better than 1. And so if you optimize for these things, it will make your life a little easier. less suffocating, and more sustainable. Thank you for watching. And the first one is to go above and beyond for your customer. Because at this point, your customer has already made your and the first one is